Karen and Kyle versus the gay mafia. Okay, so this takes place in the deep rural south of Georgia circa some 15 or 20 years ago. No, somewhere between that. I just don't remember an exact date. Now, my mama and I volunteered at our local Catholic outreach, got us some goodies when we needed help, also looks good on resumes. Names are changed and places omitted to protect the innocent. A few embellishments are made for dramatic effect. 3 great houses, none alike in dignity. In fair Georgia we set our scene. The cast. My mom. Mama Badger, God rest her soul. Me. I don't feature too much in this story though. Karen and Kyle. Idiots with guns that think they are hardcore gangstas. The gay mafia. For positively enormous homosexual, black, I hate to focus on the ethnicity, but it sadly is important because Georgia drag queens, the shortest of whom was 6 feet 5 inches. Absolute sweethearts, all of them. They were always together. Hence the moniker Gay Mafia, which became their moniker, and they loved it. As one might expect, a pack of huge gay black men who like to wear dresses do not have an easy life in the deep south of the USA. They were forced over time by circumstance to earn their keeps largely as prostitutes, but they were still good church-going girls, every one of them, and our priest, though a bit unnerved by them, did not turn them from God's house. The outreach was where they got the majority of their daily bread. We took in loads of bread from local businesses wanting easy tax write-offs and to ditch just about to expire goods they couldn't sell, as well as went through the donated clothes racks, often alone because, well, it was primarily staffed by grumpy old southern white women who looked upon 4 huge black guys, drag queens or not, with innate pearl-clutching fear. But not my mom. My mother was a firm believer in the words of Jesus, like the actual f***ing words, and not the ones people use as empty platitudes to justify poor and oft heretical behavior. Now, the girls may have confused her a little. She saw no harm in what they were doing. After all, whether men and women wear pants or dresses depends on their line of work. Plenty of actors have done drag, even in the early days of the 30s and 40s, and as long as there's nothing untoward going on, she didn't care. She did disapprove of their profession, but that's because she was originally a proper New England blue blood, and prostitution is frowned upon by people from such circles. Hence they were her wayward children of God, and she went out of her way to help them when they asked. My mom would find them all proper Sunday dresses, complete with acceptable headwear, purses, matching shoes, all very tasteful, and most importantly sure's fit. Naturally, when available, I would assist her in finding these articles to put into the donation racks. Do you have any idea how hard it is to find a good set of pumps for a size 17 men's? Suffice it to say, the girls absolutely loved me and my mom. Turns out treating people like people with dignity and considered an attractive quality. Mom even got a few of the other outreach ladies to start talking to them and show that they might be a bit eccentric, but they were perfectly nice people and should be treated as such instead of avoided or sneered at. Enter Karen. One day Mom was busy arranging the clothing racks and telling people where to find things. Gotta make sure the kids have nice clothes for school and church and whatnot. After all, I was in the back providing my strong young back and legs as a heavy lifter of boxes laden with pre-filled care packages. The geriatrics really appreciated that. Mom's attention is drawn by the cry of the southern tufted gangsta Karen. Yo, I needs my stuff. Go get it, will ya? I gots to feed my baby. As Karen was whiter than rice on a paper plate, and all who heard her reflexively cringed. Even those of us who couldn't hear her felt our spines twinge in a phantom pain. My mother, patient soul that she was, you need the full assistance package, dear? If you could show me your referral, I'll go grab you one right away. The outreach provided some free purchase goods and a little monetary assistance for rent and water and power if you had a referral from a social worker. This was a crucial service that kept a lot of people and their children from starving. But you had to have that referral. It wasn't hard to get, and we weren't far from the offices you could get one. Karen, however, after a quick self-search and coming up empty, which was actually impressive, her trailer trash outfit had dozens of extra pockets sewn in. Batman would have been jealous, just kinda huffed annoyedly. GB Karen, I forgot it. I'll bring it in next time. Can we please hurry the FK up? It's hot as balls in this, man. Mom, with an slowly tightening smile of exasperation. Language, if you please, dear. There are people with children. GB Karen. Man FK they kids, get already. Mom's smile fades a bit, which most people found eerie because if she hits the right spot, she had a disturbing and vaguely threatening leer not unlike the happy mask salesman. I'm afraid that without a referral, we cannot provide you with a full assistance package. If you could go and get it, I would be more than happy to bring you one. In the meantime, would you like one of our care packages? I can slip some formula into a bag for you. This once. Ostensibly against the rules, but my mother was a kind soul. Mostly. Gangsta Karen was having none of this and flew off the handle, screaming obscenities about what she was owed, and the usual sorts of nonsense. Though unlike most Karens, she doesn't go to hit Mom. Mom was easily 2.5 times her mass and could have probably snapped her like a twig. She was a rail thin little insect. Mom tells Dora, not real name, head old white woman of the outreach, to call the police if she counts to 3 and Karen isn't gone. Mom, 1. Still smiling, still being screamed at. 2. Smile begins fading most Ricky tick. Voice has changed pitch and tone, and the sky begins to darken with thick clouds pregnant with the promise of a storm. Still being yelled at. 3. The smile is gone. The face has become like stone, but carved upon the stone is a visage of malice. The sun can no longer be seen. Karen stops screaming and turns tail to run, promising she'll send her mans and he'll take care of this. Silly, silly Karen. The sky's clear and the warmth of the sun returns. Mom goes back to helping people with their stuff. I am obliviously working in the back, though the old man wonders why I briefly began speaking in tongues and warned those around me of impending doom. Less than an hour later, Kyle appears. Kyle is not a big lad. He is maybe 5 feet 2 inches and he is wiry and thin, what we could call a chicken hawk build. The only thing that is truly threatening about him is nickel-plated Taurus PT 24/7 IRC chambered in .40 short and weak, which he has promptly shoved into my mother's face and is grinding the barrel against her forehead. Kyle does not understand that my mom has been held at gunpoint before, and by far more intimidating people. She does not try to speak to, over, around, or down at him. She just casts her withering gaze upon him and stands there like a statue, wordlessly daring him to pull that trigger. It will be his death. Her husband is there by now, bringing us all lunch, and her husband is a retired U.S. Marine sharpshooting instructor who now works as a sheriff's deputy and corrections officer. If he doesn't get the jackass, I will, albeit almost certainly to my detriment and probable hospitalization. I'm not a big Billy badass, even if I do have a really good resting F off and die face. If not me, somebody else will. But lo, what shadows from yonder clothes rack brings. Dad does not even have time to make an appearance in the story proper, despite hearing Kyle roaring racial slurs and threats at Mom and trying to force her to respect his nickel and chrome pepe extension, because Kyle now finds himself shrouded as though night has come early. The girls have surrounded him and crowded in very, very close. They are not filled with smiles, compliments, and good Christian cheer. They are filled with hatred, fury, and a bloodlust for this wretched little mongrel who is barking at their precious mom. Kyle is confused and more than a little intimidated. It is not every day he is set upon by 4 giants wearing the damn prettiest Sunday dresses you ever did see. It is not every day his gun is ripped from his hand like a spoiled child having his toy taken away, too shocked to speak as his precious toy is dismantled and its parts are thrown into the hedgerows of no return. The raccoons, crows, and squirrels will take the pieces to adorn nests and the like, because shiny. And it is most certainly not every day that he is picked up bodily, carried 1.5 blocks from his original starting point, in this case, carried, not dragged, full-on carried, to an empty Rite Aid parking lot near the main road, thrown unceremoniously to the asphalt, and forced to watch in horror as the giants take off their pumps, flex their legs a bit, and begin rearranging his skeleton one JoJo grade kick at a time. Dora had called the cops, of course, and they arrived some 10 minutes into Kyle's beating. Cop 1, HRM. You think that's the guy from the emergency call we got? Cop 2. Matches the description perfectly aside from how many teeth he's missing. Cop 1. We should do something about this. Cop 2, HM. Yes, we should. They ended up watching for another 5 or 10 minutes before finally breaking up the girls and calling an ambulance for Kyle after reading him his rights and telling him he's under arrest. The girls are more than a little scared now. When the cops get involved, they almost always have to fear sexual assault or police brutality. But not today. Today the cops are from the very parish that they also attend, and these two young men, knowing that the girls are surely overheated and feeling weak by now, offer to get them some waters from the nearby Jack in the Crack. They have all done a good deed today and protected the outreach and all of its vulnerable old white ladies. They should be hailed as heroes. But because they're a gaggle of giant gay black dudes in dresses, they're not even going to get a short story in the local paper, which pissed all of us off something fierce. Fking press vultures, you hand them a perfectly good story and they whinge because it's not great Wagyu beef. Kyle went to jail. Karen went to jail but for a reduced sentence because she was just an accessory and not the primary antagonist. Mom and I finished our work for the day and went home to make bread and homemade sandwiches. Dad helped file the report for the department and regretted he didn't get to beat into the ground himself. And the girls got the very best clothes that could be found set aside just for them and a lot of local respect which led to better treatment, if only from the church-going folk. But to them it was a huge step up from where they'd been before, being treated like respectable ladies in their own church instead of common. Now to the next story, story 2. I asked my friends to leave the apartment I'm renting for them, and now everyone is against me. First of all, not in the US. All names are fake. Second, I'm going through a separation with my husband, Ron. My life is in shambles, and I've relied heavily on my friends who have been amazing and helped me out so much. The thing is, Ron and I own an apartment, and before the separation we were living in his mother's house. She moved across the country, and we thought it would be a good idea since we have the baby, and it's more spacious and somewhat more practical. We decided we would rent the apartment to a couple of friends of mine, Amy and Lisa, who just came from my home country, and it would be really hard for them to rent here being freshly arrived, and without the necessary requirements for renting through the proper channels. We didn't even get to make a contract because not even a month after they got here, we started the separation. I let them know a month ago when this all started that we would need the apartment back soon. They understood and said they'd start looking. Ron is the breadwinner and I'm a som, and the idea is for me to eventually go back to the apartment and he'll stay at his mom's house. In the meantime, he was staying at a friend's apartment and finally he settled at his godmother's house. This is far from ideal since the house is not safe for the baby. Think dangerous stairs, old broken furniture, a weirdly designed garden, etc., and so he can't have her over. We tried living together despite the separation and everything we're going through, but we can't. We fight. It's not healthy for us and especially not for our daughter. So ever since we got some distance, things have actually been great between us and we've been co-parenting really well. However, on Friday, he came home, his godmother's, to find godmother's sister and her girlfriend there. They said they're staying for the summer and no one let him know in advance. He absolutely hates her, and he can't stay there with them. Yesterday, he came by and he was really upset, nervous and quite pissed off. He said that the girls have to leave by the end of the week. He can't keep living like this, like a nomad, unable to care for his daughter. His reasoning is that he works and really fking hard and makes good money, but is the only one who doesn't have a roof over his head. Also, that he doesn't want to spend money on an Airbnb or renting something when he already has his own place. I did my best to reason with him that they need time, that we can live together just for the time being. There's a big event in the city this summer, and we had given them until after it to leave, and it's hard to find another place right away. It was a no-go. He started getting angrier and got mad at me for allowing my friends to stay over. Even though it was something we both agreed on, they pay us and it was a good idea at the time. He started bringing up how if we had to go to a judge for the divorce, this would be extremely prejudicial to me regarding custody agreements and etc. How he could, definitely won't, get me thrown out from the house I've been living in, since it's his mother's and other nightmare scenarios. He was pressuring me and really insistent. I started panicking, and since he wasn't budging, I told them the situation and even suggested that one of them can stay with me at my MIL's house since we have a whole empty floor, Ron's suggestion. I made it clear that I known this is get up and not my decision. I even suggested I'll help them pack if needed. That can accommodate them as best as I can in this whole mess. Ron really likes Amy and told me many times that she should be the one staying here with me. He knows how much of a good friend she is to me. They were angry, incredibly so. They mentioned legalities and how it is illegal to give this much of a short notice here. In one of the messages, Amy said that Ron should have more compassion with them, and there's no way in hell they are leaving with such short notice, that Ron is behaving like a spoiled child. This escalated Ron's anger towards them for the way they were reacting and treating me. He started talking about calling the police and changing the locks. I grew more and more desperate. The situation was out of my control and I was stuck between a rock and a hard place. I was shacking and crying, begging him to calm down and be reasonable. The girls are part of my only group friend here, and they've been nothing but amazing with me and the strifes brought by the end of my marriage. Of course, I knew this was asking too much and not right to them, but I also wanted to mediate because I knew he would blow the whole thing way too far. Finally, I managed to calm him down, after literally begging him to think this through and realize what we were asking. He agreed to give them 30 days. I couldn't even tell them that. I just started apologizing for how I handled everything, that I knew I had f***ed up, and I said they don't have to leave this week. But they stopped answering me. To make matters worse, I reached out to another friend, Arnold, who I knew was aware of everything. I just needed to see if he could help me on how to make things right, and he straight up told me it was disgusting of me to do this to friends, that this is illegal, and that he's incredibly disappointed on me. Arnold is my best friend in the group, and I was so hurt by his words and him taking their side without even asking me what was happening on my end. These past months have been a f***ing disaster, and I can't believe I'm going to lose the only friends I have here because of all this mess. I don't know what to do anymore and how to repair this whole situation. I just needed to vent,